And you're not sensitive. You're unintegrated. Let that sit for a moment. You've been told your whole life that you feel too much, that you react too strongly, and that you take things personally, that you overthink, that you need thicker skin. But what if that isn't the truth? And what if what you call sensitivity is actually unclaimed power? What if your emotional intensity is not weakness, but fragmentation? Here is the confronting reality, and what you refuse to face controls your reactions. And the more you deny your darkness, the more fragile you feel. Emotional intensity is not weakness. Unawareness is. And you are not too much. You are split within yourself. Carl Jung spoke about something called the shadow, the parts of your personality you reject, suppress, and/or deny because they don't fit the image you want to present to the world. Anger, envy, aggression, competitiveness, the need to dominate, the craving for validation, and the desire to be chosen. You learned early which parts were acceptable and which parts were dangerous. So you buried the dangerous ones. But buried does not mean gone, and it means unconscious. And the unconscious always finds a way to express itself, usually through your triggers. You say you're sensitive, but let's look closer. And why does a small change in someone's tone ruin your entire day? Why do you replay conversations in your head at night? And why does constructive criticism feel like rejection? Why do you feel physically tight when someone ignores your message? And why do you feel exposed when someone challenges you? That isn't random. That is the shadow activating. Sensitivity, psychologically, is often hypervigilance and a constant scanning for threat, a deep fear of humiliation, a silent expectation of rejection. You are not reacting to what is happening, and you are reacting to what it represents. Pay attention to this. When someone makes a simple comment and you feel a wave of heat in your chest, your mind says, "And they're attacking me." But often, what's actually happening is this. A part of you already believes something negative about yourself, and when someone's words brush against that hidden belief, the shadow erupts. This is projection. And projection is when you attribute to others what you cannot tolerate within yourself. If you secretly fear you are incompetent, any feedback feels like exposure. And if you secretly crave importance, any lack of attention feels like disrespect. If you repress anger, any slight inconvenience feels like injustice. And here's what nobody tells you about being sensitive. Sensitivity is often suppressed aggression turned inward. And the person who prides themselves on being nice often has a complicated relationship with anger. You were rewarded for being agreeable, calm, easy, mature, understanding, and so you learn to swallow irritation. You learn to silence disagreement. You learn to be the bigger person. But the energy of aggression does not disappear just because you disapprove of it. It sinks. And then it leaks out in strange ways. Passive resentment, sarcasm, and internal rage, emotional withdrawal, overreaction to minor slights. The shadow doesn't make you cruel. It makes you reactive. Think about this carefully. And when you suppress your need to assert yourself, you become hypersensitive to anyone asserting themselves around you. And when you deny your desire for power, you feel threatened by powerful personalities. And when you refuse to admit you want recognition, you feel deeply wounded when overlooked. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to eliminate sensitivity, and they try to numb themselves. They try to care less. But the goal is not numbness. The goal is integration. Let's go deeper. Behind sensitivity, and there is often repressed anger. Anger at being underestimated. Anger at being ignored. Anger at never feeling fully seen. Anger at always accommodating others. But because you believe anger is ugly, you disown it. So instead of saying, "I'm angry," you say, "I'm hurt." Instead of saying, "That was disrespectful," you say, "And maybe I'm overreacting." Instead of setting boundaries, you overthink the interaction for days. Your body carries what your mouth refuses to say, and that creates fragility. Because every unspoken boundary becomes an internal wound, and every unacknowledged desire becomes resentment. And there is also another shadow behind sensitivity, the need for significance. You want to matter. Not in a loud, arrogant way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. And you want your presence to count. You want your words to land. You want your existence to feel solid. But if you were taught that wanting recognition is selfish, you push that desire into the shadow. And then when someone interrupts you, or dismisses your idea, or forgets to include you, it doesn't just feel inconvenient, and it feels like proof that you don't matter. And that is unbearable. So you react. Not because you're sensitive, but because a hidden wound has been touched. And this is the part that changes everything. Your triggers are not signs of weakness. They are maps. They point directly to what you have not integrated. And if you feel jealous easily, there is a denied ambition. If you feel criticized easily, there is a fragile self-concept. If you feel ignored easily, and there is a suppressed need for validation. If you feel controlled easily, there is a repressed desire for dominance. The nice person often suppresses aggression, and the mature person often suppresses vulnerability. The chill person often suppresses desire, but suppression creates tension, and tension creates reactivity, and you cannot control what you refuse to admit exists. Shadow integration is not about acting out your anger. It is not about becoming ruthless, and it is not about expressing every dark impulse. Integration is about being able to say, calmly, yes, I feel envy. Yes, I want respect. Yes, and I feel competitive. Yes, I feel angry. Without collapsing, without justifying, without performing morality. And this is the dangerous part. And when you become honest about your shadow, you stop being manipulated by it. Because now you see it coming. And imagine someone makes a subtle comment questioning your competence. Before integration, your body tightens. You obsess. You replay it all night. You feel wounded. And after integration, you noticed. I feel anger. I feel exposed. I want to defend myself. And instead of spiraling, you pause. You choose your response. And emotional stability is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of awareness. Integration reduces overthinking because you are no longer fighting yourself. And when you stop pretending you are always pure, always kind, always above petty feelings, you relax. Because there is nothing left to hide. And this is where psychological strength is born. Not from perfection, but from wholeness. Now let's make this practical. Trigger mapping journal. For the next 30 days, and every time you feel emotionally charged, write it down. What happened? What you felt? What you wanted to say but didn't? What you feared it meant? Patterns will emerge, and you will see that the same wound keeps getting touched. Pay attention to this. Your strongest triggers are connected to your strongest denied traits. Second exercise, and anger awareness without action. When anger arises, do not suppress it. Do not express it impulsively. Simply observe it. Where is it in your body? What does it want? And what boundary feels crossed? Say internally, I am feeling anger. Nothing more. This builds tolerance for your own intensity. Third exercise, projection reflection. And when someone irritates you, deeply ask, what trait in them do I reject in myself? If you hate arrogance, and is there a part of you that wants to be unapologetically confident? If you hate laziness, is there a part of you exhausted and resentful? If you hate emotional neediness, and is there a part of you longing for reassurance? This is uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is integration happening. Fourth, the silent pause practice. In conversations, and when you feel triggered, pause for 3 seconds before responding. 3 seconds. It interrupts the automatic shadow reaction. It reminds you that you have choice, and integration equals awareness plus control, not suppression, not explosion, awareness plus control. Fifth, owning your dark thoughts privately, and you are allowed to think aggressive thoughts, competitive thoughts, petty thoughts. You are human. The problem is not the thought, and the problem is pretending you don't have it. When you privately acknowledge, I want to win, I want to be admired, and I want to be better, you stop being unconsciously driven by it. And this is where most people fail. They want to feel stable without facing what destabilizes them. And they want confidence without admitting insecurity. They want calm without admitting rage. You cannot bypass the shadow. You must turn toward it, slowly, honestly, and without drama. You are not weak. You are divided. Part of you wants to be good. Part of you wants to be powerful. Part of you wants to be loved. And part of you wants to dominate. Part of you wants to disappear. Part of you wants to be seen. And when you identify only with the acceptable parts, the rejected parts fight for expression. And that fight feels like sensitivity. But once you say, all of this is me, something settles. You don't need thicker skin. You need deeper self-honesty. Untouchable does not mean emotionless. It means emotionally governed. And when someone criticizes you, you evaluate it instead of absorbing it. When someone ignores you, you feel the sting but don't collapse. When someone succeeds, and you acknowledge envy without shame. When someone challenges you, you respond instead of react. because there is no hidden part scrambling to defend its existence, and you have already faced it. You have already seen it. You are no longer afraid of your own darkness. And when you are not afraid of yourself, other people lose the power to destabilize you. That is what true emotional strength looks like. Not numbness, not detachment, and not indifference. Integration. When you integrate your shadow, you stop defending yourself against life, and because there is nothing left inside you that you are afraid to see. If this resonated, you're not too sensitive. You're becoming self-aware.